Living completely free and clear just from dividends paid from different stocks or ETFs is a goal basically every single dividend growth investor has. And as you can see right here, this is also a goal of mine and something I've been putting into practice over the last 7 or 8 years now, buying dividend paying stocks and ETFs on a daily basis. So much so as to the point that as of right now, I have over 7 figures invested into different dividend paying stocks and ETFs, which pay me around $60 to $100 per month in dividends. Now in this video, we're going to talk about one of the fastest yet safest ways a dividend investor could actually achieve the goal of living completely free and clear from just dividends paid from an ETF. Now this high yield ETF offers pretty much all the good things that most high yield ETFs or stocks offer and doesn't offer a lot of the bad things. So whether you have a dream of living free and clear from dividends or have an interest in learning a little bit more about a super interesting higher yield ETF, make sure to drop a like down below, stick around, and let's get right into it. So the high yield ETF and the ETF that I think could be a great option for an investor that wanted to live free and clear off of dividends completely, especially for an investor that doesn't have millions and millions of dollars to start out with. The ETF that I'm talking about is SVOL, or the Simplified Volatility Premium ETF. Now right here on the Simplified ETF website, it explains a little bit about how SVOL works, and it's a little bit complicated, so listen closely. It says the Simplified Volatility Premium ETF, or SVOL, seeks to provide the investment results before fees and expenses that correspond to approximately 1/5 to 3/10 the inverse of the performance of the CBOE Volatility Index or the VIX Short-Term Futures Index, while also seeking to mitigate extreme volatility. Now to dig even deeper into this ETF, it says strategy design, passive inverse VIX exposure. 25% inverse VIX exposure attempts to balance the trade-off between maximized income and minimizing drag from high volatility. Another positive about this ETF, income generation without a Schedule K1, so come tax time, that's going to be helpful. Now the portfolio application says, income generation, a different approach in seeking income than traditional higher yielding assets. Strategy provides an enhanced opportunity for portfolio performance when equity markets are range bound. Now looking a little bit deeper into SVOL, some of the performance and some of the reasons being why I personally invested into SVOL several months ago and continue to buy more shares. First of all, as far as performance goes over the last year, even though SVOL is extremely high yield, which I'm going to share with you in a second here, this ETF is actually up 4.82%. Now on the max time frame, zooming all the way out, SVOL is in the red, unfortunately. And this is since about May 2021. So unfortunately, SVOL does sort of have a bad look, at least on the all the way zoomed out time frame. Although since around December of 2022, the ETF has performed much, much better. And also, side note, trust me, with the dividends that were paid throughout this entire time frame, you are not going to be super disappointed about a 12% loss as far as ETF price. Now, some more interesting and important facts about SVOL, the expense ratio is 1.16%. Now, hear me out before you say to yourself, that's way too expensive, I'm not buying any SVOL. After I just shared with you exactly how this ETF works, you can probably understand why it's sort of management heavy, so you are going to have to pay a pretty penny for that, which is definitely one of the negatives. Now on top of that, SVOL has almost 800 million of AUM, so the ETF has been growing pretty nicely over time. Now SVOL has been trading in this range for quite some time now, and honestly, as a shareholder of SVOL, I don't mind whatsoever even if this ETF does trade more or less sideways, as long as it's not decaying like crazy, like many of the other higher yielding ETFs and stocks out there. But now let's get to the good part, talking about dividends when it comes to this ETF, because after all, the whole point of this video is to show you an ETF that could be one of the best and easiest ways to reach financial freedom or to buy into something that's going to pay your bills and then some. And with SVOL yielding over 16% on the trailing 12-month dividend yield, 16% with very consistent dividends, anywhere from around 30 cents on a monthly basis, upwards of 32 cents or even more on a monthly basis. But over the last year or so, we can see that SVOL, for the most part, has obviously had some sort of cadence where the management is obviously trying to give investors around 29 to 30, 32 cents on a monthly basis, which equates to somewhere of around 16% per year in dividends. So now that I share with you that 16% dividend yield that does look pretty consistent, at least so far, you can see now why I'm not really concerned if this ETF does move up like crazy in the short term, because even if it trades sideways and pays you 16% per year, I don't think any one of us are complaining. Now just to go through some basic math and just to share with you how easy in theory it'd be to live off of an ETF like this one that pays upwards of 16% yield per year in dividends. If someone, for example, had a $3,000 a month budget, let's say, that they were trying to get to a point to where their dividends covered everything. If SVOL is paying around 30 cents per share per month in dividends, more or less, let's just say. If an investor wanted to get to a point to where their dividend income from SVOL was to the point to where it was completely covering all their living expenses and more, if they had a $3,000 a month or so budget, an investor would only need to invest around $226,000 into SVOL in order for the dividend, in theory at least, to cover everything. Now, I am obviously by no means saying that an investor should go all in on something like SVOL or anything high yield for that matter, just to get their dividend income up to a point to where they can cover their bills and then some. But I'm just making the point that if an investor out there does want to build out a portfolio that is paying a significant amount of dividend income on a monthly basis and wants an ETF with at least so far a rock solid strategy and decent performance so far, SVOL is definitely one to look into. But obviously don't take my word for it, let's let the numbers do the talking. If an investor would have invested $10,000 into SVOL, and this was back during the inception of this ETF, and also reinvested the dividends along the way, that $10,000 would have turned into $13,400 after 2.86 years. Now that's not the largest increase of all time, that's only 10.77% on average per year, or 34% over the entire time frame. And I get it, during the same time frame, there's lots of other investments that an investor could have bought into that could have had a larger total return. I totally get that. But regardless, in the conversation of finding an ETF that offers a mega high dividend yield, a good strategy, and on top of that, an ETF that hasn't decayed like crazy, although it has decayed a little bit on the long term, 12%. Let's not forget about that. But over the last year, this ETF is basically flat, up a little bit, even in the green. If an investor is seeking income generation, I think SVOL should definitely be in the running for one of the top ETFs to look into, only if that's a strategy they're looking for. Now, for me personally, because I'm seeking income generation on a monthly and quarterly basis, but also I want upside exposure, meaning that I also want my net worth to go up over time, I have different investments throughout my portfolio, like things of Apple stock, but I also have different, more income-focused ETFs, things like QYLD or even JEPI. And that's because overall, I think diversification is king, and I will continue to spread the love throughout different ETFs and stocks over the next several years as I build out my long-term portfolio. When it comes to SVOL, the Simplified Volatility Premium ETF, is this an ETF that's currently in your portfolio? And if not, would you ever consider adding to it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earned more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.